And to be quite honest with you, I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted with Sue Bird.
What happens when one of the greatest legends in women's basketball appears to blame the league's biggest superstar for a shocking collapse in ticket prices? Imagine thousands of fans scrolling through social media only to discover headlines claiming that WNBA tickets have dropped as low as $5, while an explosive debate erupts over whether Caitlin Clark is actually helping, or hurting, the league. If those claims are true, the implications could completely change the way people view the WNBA's biggest success story. Now, reports and viral discussions are putting Sue Bird and Caitlin Clark at the center of a controversy that has basketball fans arguing across every major platform. Some believe Clark's massive popularity created unrealistic expectations for attendance around the league, while others insist she's the only reason millions of new fans are paying attention in the first place. As accusations, opinions, and reactions continue to spread, everyone is asking the same question: who's really responsible for the ticket price crash? But here's where the story becomes even more surprising. While dramatic videos and social media posts have fueled this narrative, publicly verified reporting does not confirm that Sue Bird blamed Caitlin Clark for a $5 ticket crash. Instead, recent coverage has focused on Clark's impact on the league, player safety controversies, and ongoing debates surrounding officiating and media attention. Still, that hasn't stopped the internet from exploding with speculation. Supporters argue that Clark continues to drive television ratings, merchandise sales, and fan engagement wherever she plays, while critics claim the league's overall business picture is more complicated than one superstar alone. The debate has become bigger than basketball itself, with every interview, every headline, and every social media post adding even more fuel to the fire. So what really happened? Did Sue Bird actually criticize Caitlin Clark? Are the reports being taken out of context? And what's the real story behind the headlines claiming WNBA tickets crashed to just $5? Stay with us, because we're breaking down the facts, separating rumor from reality, and revealing why this controversy has everyone talking.
Is what we want. Instead, we're still getting bullshit on viewership.
People could hate Caitlin Clark, but Stephen A. Smith wasn't going to stand for it. Stephen hadn't given up on Caitlin yet because he had been there for her all season. The two of them were getting along pretty badly.
ESPN. So because I work at my day job on ESPN, I'm supposed to ignore the...
Stephen said that fewer people are watching and that no one is really interested in watching the WNBA finals. Sue Bird disagreed.
Stephen A. Smith talk about it. I've seen Shannon Sharp talk about it. And that's what I just don't understand is they work for ESPN. So why are you hating on a product that ESPN
they invest in?
Yeah, that's where these viewership numbers are coming. Yeah, it's a business you're in. It's not that they can't. And by the way, it's not that they can't be critical of certain things. They can have their opinions. But that's where I don't understand.
Stephen still says what he really thinks about current events, even though he works for ESPN. Even though ESPN is interviewing him, he gives his honest thoughts on current events. Without Caitlin, who is a big draw, the WNBA has had a hard time keeping the same number of fans. Sue Bird says that even though stadiums are still full and there are a lot of fans there, ticket prices have dropped a lot, which is why fans are still watching. She also says that the price of a playoff game ticket is ridiculous. How likely is it that the WNBA would charge the same price for tickets if Caitlin played? Of course not.
Tickets at the Target Center in Minnesota selling for as low as $10.
Sue Bird, a legend in the WNBA and one of the most recognizable names in women's basketball, has recently become involved in a shocking and serious scandal. In a sudden and heated controversy, it seems that Bird blamed Caitlin Clark for the recent drop in WNBA playoff viewership and ticket sales, which led to the argument. Bird seems to have blamed Caitlin Clark for the recent drop in ticket sales and TV ratings for the WNBA playoffs. Clark's importance to the sport has been known for a long time, so many people were shocked by what Bird said.
Sharp starts to talk about the attendance and says basically that Caitlin had the highest attendance in the playoffs, which Caitlin Clark played her first 2 rounds in Connecticut, which only holds roughly 10,000, and they got swept, so they never made it back to Cambridge in Indiana to play a home game. So they absolutely did not have.
Bird had been a backer of the WNBA's growth and strength for a long time and thought Smith's comments made the league look too bad. She thought it hurt the players' ability to work together and the league's growth over time. Bird responded quickly to this story because she wanted to protect the WNBA's reputation and show that it could do well without one player's help. Sue Bird wasn't just mad at Stephen A. Smith when she was angry. She also went after Shannon Sharp, who had also talked about how much Caitlin Clark cared about women's basketball. Smith and Sharp were very vocal about how much they liked Clark and said she was a big reason why more people were watching and getting excited about the sport. But Bird thought that the WNBA's overall goals were being hurt by all the attention on Clark. Bird, who has been a fan of women's basketball for a long time, insisted that the league's success shouldn't be attributed to a single player. She believed that the league could survive through teamwork rather than the star power of a single player.
There is a Caitlin Clark effect on all of basketball, and especially on women's basketball ratings. Kudos to her. She has elevated an entire sport. It
is hard to ignore the facts of the situation, though. Caitlin Clark's amazing college basketball games got a lot of attention, and many people thought that momentum would carry over into the WNBA playoffs. Without Clark, it was very hard for the WNBA to keep up the energy and fan interest she had created. The league was in a tough spot because they had to figure out how to fill the void she left while keeping the fan interest at the same level.
Stephen A. and with Shannon, there's an aspect of them like defending their stances on her. Like, we were right about Caitlin and this is our defense. And I still think there's something twisted there because nobody ever said that Caitlin wasn't going to be a marketing gem.
To get people to watch again, the WNBA lowered the cost of playoff tickets. Fans noticed right away that ticket prices dropped a lot when Caitlin Clark wasn't there, which suggested that the league was trying to fill seats. At first glance, it looked like the WNBA was selling out games and keeping the crowds high. But things were more complex than that. Cutting ticket prices was done on purpose to avoid embarrassingly empty stadiums during big games, but it made it harder to see how interested fans really were.
Let's take a look at the stands. All the seats, even the courtside seats, are empty.
The numbers, on the other hand, tell a different story. Since Caitlin Clark stopped bringing her energy and excitement to the games, the WNBA has had a hard time keeping fans interested. Sue Bird's earlier praise of Caitlin Clark's contribution to the sport makes her most recent comments even more shocking. Bird was one of the first people to notice Clark's huge ability to change women's basketball when she first came on the scene. This change in strategy shows that Bird cares more about the long-term image of the league.
Liberty games, they're full. It looks full in Vegas. It looks full every single place that you go. TD Garden sold out when Caitlin wasn't playing there for regular.
Because Caitlin Clark can get a lot of attention for women's basketball, she is now both a hero and a target in some places. This happens all the time with athletes who become famous quickly. Some fans are happy about Clark's quick rise to fame, while others see it as a threat to the status quo. Another WNBA legend, Cheryl Swoops, has had different thoughts on Clark's impact.
Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now. Immediately.
Without talented people like Caitlin Clark, the league would have a hard time keeping the level of fan engagement and passion it has now. Even though the WNBA has recently made progress in getting more fans and more people to know about it, it still has a long way to go before it can get broad attention and regular support. As an athlete, Caitlin Clark was one of a kind. Her talent and charm went beyond basketball, drawing people who wouldn't normally watch women's games. The league has had a hard time getting people interested again since she left because she was so good at getting casual viewers. The WNBA is having a hard time keeping up that pace because it has to keep up the excitement Clark created while also filling the void her star power left. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, has kept her mind on her game and consistently done very well. Even though she's getting more and more attention as her star rises, it's getting harder and harder to ignore the growing number of critics. Some people will always criticize an athlete who seems to have it all: a meteoric rise, fan adoration, and undeniable brilliance. This could be because they are jealous or insecure.
Stick around and want to watch the others. A rising tide lifts all boats, which is what we were saying, both Shannon Sharp and myself, when we addressed that issue. Why would you say a quote like that? We work for ESPN, so I'm supposed to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to the facts? That ain't.
Clark has been criticized and detractors, even though she has had a hugely positive effect on the sport. These people who don't believe in her often act like they care more about sabotaging her success than recognizing how much attention and excitement she has brought to women's basketball. Even so, Clark has kept her mind on her performance and has handled the pressure and criticism well as she continues to get better at the sport and her game in particular. Things are especially upsetting because of the criticism. The situation is even worse because the criticism of Caitlin Clark doesn't seem to have any basis in reality. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with what Caitlin Clark says about her. Instead, her huge popularity has made people more interested in women's basketball, which has raised the status of the whole WNBA. Clark's great achievements and charming personality have not only gained him new fans, but they have also started new conversations about the future of the sport. Unfortunately, Clark's achievements have not been met with general praise for his great work. Instead, they have been met with suspicion and, in some cases, outright hostility. Some people look at this with suspicion, if not outright hostility. This reaction doesn't make sense, since Clark has only done good things to promote the game and get the league the attention it's been looking for.
WNBA playoff viewership down now that Caitlyn is out. And is that somewhat factually accurate? Yes. It's not accurate. Viewership numbers with Caitlyn Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw. Yeah. She brings in all the things.
It's not a new trend for people to criticize great female athletes, but it's especially upsetting when it comes to women's basketball, which is still trying to get respect and acceptance from the public. It's possible for Caitlyn Clark to change the game in the same way that Michael Jordan and LeBron James did by bringing in new fans and taking the sport to new heights. But some people in the WNBA don't seem willing to fully support Clark, even though others would like to use her popularity to their advantage. This reluctance to back her fame points to bigger problems in the sport of groundbreaking success. This reluctance to accept her fame is a sign of deeper problems in the sport, where opposition often leads to revolutionary success. Against the odds. Sue Bird can clearly see the stress. Bird has always been happy for the WNBA's growth, and she hopes it continues with or without Caitlyn Clark. She knows that the WNBA needs to be seen as strong and alive even when there isn't a star player in it for it to be successful in the long run. But it's hard to argue that Clark's ability to get people to the games hasn't helped the league's recent success. It's likely that Buzz Bird is angry at critics like Stephen F. Smith and Shannon Sharp because she doesn't want the WNBA to be seen as too dependent on Clark.
To imply that we should just ignore the impact that Caitlyn Clark had on this team, this league, this sport. Nah, it doesn't work.
Without Caitlyn Clark, the WNBA is having a hard time keeping up its status in the world of competitive sports. The fact that the league chose to lower ticket prices for playoff games shows that they are aware of the issue, even if they don't say so. That's right, cutting prices helped them keep arenas for longer, but it's clear that this will only work in the short run. The WNBA keeps pushing the idea that it can do well without Clark, even though there is evidence to the contrary.
Of whatever noise has been out there. So when you show that you're able to perform in the face of adversity, to me, that is the true test.
Attendance and viewership have dropped a lot since Clark went missing, which shows how valuable and successful she was. Since Clark is no longer the star of the show, the WNBA will have to find other ways to keep fans interested. The league needs to come up with new ways to keep fans excited and the sport relevant without players like her. Some people, like Cheryl Swoops and, probably, Sue Bird, are worried about how much attention Clark is getting. Many people in the league are happy about Clark's rise to fame, but instead of thanking her for her success and ability to bring attention to women's basketball, some are scared by it and wonder why one player should get so much attention. It shows a bigger problem: how to balance individual success with the league's progress as a whole.
When they got eliminated from the playoffs, the attendance dropped, the ratings dropped. If the WNBA is more, it is, and I get it. Why are people?
In general, Caitlyn Clark is making the WNBA a better place to be. In ways the league has never seen before, she has brought in new fans, raised the number of viewers, and made people excited about women's basketball.
Caitlyn Clark, what was your adjustment to her? Because that's really on some Steph Curry type of adjustment.
No, Caitlyn is tough. She's good as advertised. I mean, in the WNBA, they saying she's struggling and stuff like that, right? She had 20 points in her debut, 10 turnovers, but if you have 20 points in your debut and that's a bad game, then
that's considered a bad game. That's heavy, bro.
What does a good game look like? You know what I'm saying? So playing against Caitlyn Clark, she's really that dude.
I feel like the pressure on her is on some LeBron drafted into the NBA type of pressure.
The pressure is definitely
the pressure is there. Even if she do one wrong thing, the clips is.
We hope that more people will realize how important Caitlyn Clark is to the WNBA over time. Anyone who thought she wasn't important should be shocked by how bad things have been for the league without her. It's clear that the WNBA wouldn't be as exciting, intense, or popular without Clark. This has caused serious thought within the sport. Everyone in basketball needs to understand how important she is to the future of the sport, including fans, players, and analysts. Leave your thoughts in the box below, follow, and make sure all of your notifications are turned on so you don't miss anything. When you click on the movie, we'll see you in the next one.